My name is Alex Swanwell, and this is my sustainable home project. The location I chose is Cleveland, Tennessee, because that's where I live, and I feel like I know the climate around here pretty well, enough to be able to determine the best way to build the house. Basically, in this part, just talked about how the outside design of the house is not really going to have any effect based on the location, because socially it's not close to anything, so it can be creatively whatever it wants. But the integral design of the house is going to include many systems, like a gray water system with solar panels, because it's going to be off-grid. The energy I chose, as I just mentioned, is solar panels, and I actually talk a lot about the cost of them later in this presentation. But it's just going to be able to power my AC and stuff with the water and heater and stuff like that. So I thought that was a very good choice for a energy source. I just go more in depth about how it works and how it takes sunlight, transfers it to DC power, transfer it to AC power, which lets it be utilized throughout the house for lighting and whatnot. This is my gray water plan, or not my gray water plan, my water source plan, which is just going to use aquifers for artisan wells and a water table well for more outside garden work, where the artisan well is going to mainly power the house. And this is my gray water system, talking about how leftover water from the bathtub, sink, washer, and stuff like that are going to go into a surge tank and essentially be used for watering the garden, lawn, cars if needed, stuff like that. A very sustainable system for the house, as well as those solar panels I mentioned. As far as building the house, I decided that timbercrete would be the most sustainable way to build a structural house, because it's essentially concrete blocks, but you can get more out of the same amount of concrete, because the sawdust makes it a more sustainable source of house materials. And I also, for an insulator, would use locally sourced sheep wool to keep the heat in and the AC in during the hot and the cold months. Let's go more in depth about how it is more locally sourced and sustainable. As far as lighting and air conditioning, it basically talks about how they are both powered using the solar panels, the transfer of the electricity from light to the DC and AC powers. As far as the garden, I just talk about the best stuff seasonally, and then also these domes, which are good for keeping up pests and keeping heat in during the cold months, and how much you're gonna need for a family of 5, which is say here 350 square feet, which is a couple of these domes. As far as waste management, I just talk about how composting is going to get rid of all your organic matter and can be used as fertilizer in your garden. And also how, as far as non-organic waste, you're not going to accumulate almost any of that being completely off-grid, so you don't necessarily have to worry about that. And then the cost of the solar panels, I calculated that it would be about 19 solar panels and about 11,000 kilowatts annually. And the cost of that is going to be around $28,000 after incentives. But I also have a source that goes more in depth about it being in Tennessee, in the South, certain incentives and stuff like that. So it's my cost slide, and my extra page, I decided to talk about gadgets that would reduce overall consumption of basically anything within the house, as far as water, with the toilet and the shower head. And then I also go into electricity with these smart plugs as far as charging devices and whatnot. And this is going to be the hyperlink for my YouTube video that I'm making right now. And then as far as my references, if there was any information that you would further look for, I labeled each of the sources to what slide they go to. So like my energy, my waterways, very specific, just trying to get all of them covered in case you had further questions. Yeah. And then as far as citing all these sources within my presentation, I would put the title here, and in parentheses, as far as like in-text citations, I would put the name there just so you would know which source they're in. Yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you.